Hello, my friend. Welcome to Do Not Talk. Talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion. One decides what's life like here on Earth. The other one decides what it's going to be like when we leave it. I think we need to talk about it more than ever. Don't listen to that advice anymore. Sorry, Pop. My grandfather always told me that. Son, don't talk about politics and religion. It's too divisive. I don't want to be part of a silent majority anymore. The silent majority has finally found its voice, and now we just need to utilize it. Language is power, and that's why the left wants to control it so much and tell us how to say things. And, oh, no, you don't call it that anymore. You call it this, and so on and so forth. Fill in the blank. We've seen it. We're living it. We're experiencing it. Oh, you can't say that. Really? That's so funny because I just did. It's going to be interesting what's happening during the presidency of Donald J. Trump. We've already seen just in the first 100 days amazing accomplishments. But now the pushback has really ramped up from a party that is so weakened everywhere except for blue states. Unfortunately, these really strong blue states are financially powerful. That's how they got to that power level in the first place. California is where I am, native, born and raised. And I have so many friends who have left this state. They're just gone. And the first question when I talk to them, well, do you miss anything? No, not at all. Wish we would have done it sooner, which is a shame because it's an extraordinary place. I mean, we have everything from lush forests, mountains, hills, foothills, deserts, valleys. Agriculturally, it's just an extraordinary place. Breadbasket of the world at one time, but now you have so many very bad people taking over, buying up farmland. Bill Gates, China, buying up farmland. Why? I have the honor and privilege of calling Scott McKay a friend. He's goes by the Patriot Street Fighter. Very first show I had him on, he told the story about what happened to him in a motorcycle accident that almost took his life, how long it took him to fight back from that, what all he lost and how painful it was. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And Scott is an extraordinary example of that. He has built his podcasting empire to a point to where he has his own bus that he takes on tours and flies around and speaks at events. And he's inspirational, educational, and just an absolute blessing to even have him in your life if you know him in any way. And if you don't, follow him. The Patriot Street Fighter. You're going to find him on Rumble. You're going to find him on YouTube. You're going to find him everywhere. Scott McKay is on the show today here on Do Not Talk. And I'm really happy to talk to him. And I want to encourage you to like this show right now. You have that option right now while we're talking. Just hit that like button. You help that way. You help us grow. And if you can share these shows, please share them. That really helps with the algorithms and all that. And you can find a way to help this show financially if you can, or just be involved. Write me. You can schedule to be on show yourself at CharLeeSimons.com. I got a fancy dancy new website there, Scott McKay. CharLeeSimons.com. CharLeeSimons.com. Here's what I'm going to talk to Scott with today. We're going to discuss this because I want to know more. Watch this.
A lot of people don't realize that the presidential election that just occurred in the inauguration process is a lot bigger than we can even imagine. And let me break that down. So back in 1871, our country, America, was sold by our president, Ulysses S. Grant, to basically the royal family. We became owned. We lost all sovereignty, all freedoms, all constitutional rights. We became what is called the USA Incorporated business entity. Now, what does that have to do with anything today? So many of you just watched the inauguration and things that took place, and a lot of things stood out. And the biggest one was realizing that Trump actually has never left, quote unquote, office. You see, there's two presidents. There's two types of worlds that we're living in. One that is fake, one that is built unconstitutionally, one that is based on certain laws, one that is based on corruption and manipulation, and based pretty much in a foreign occupation territory known as Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. also works in coordinates with the Vatican and also the royal family, and then you tie in all other places where the deep state operates to control and depopulate the world. Sounds aggressive, right? On the other timeline, there is a constitutional republic. And this is why you've seen Trump wear these hats that said 45-47. He never left. It looks like he did. It looks like he had to resign or step away for Biden to come in. But the whole Biden administration was just to wake the world up to how corrupt these people are. You have to zoom out. This whole process, the last 8 years you've been seeing, more than that, has literally been a global military operation. How, what, and why? To wake up the public, to restore back our Constitution, to transfer power from a centralized, corrupt, globalist, New World Order, deep state government back into the hands of the people. And so what you have just witnessed and what you are going to continue to see from what's happening at the border, what's happening in our economy, what's happening in pharmaceuticals, what's happening in banking, what's happening in DC and politics, which is now no longer and is a bankrupt corporation, we are becoming sovereign and free as a country. We're turning power back to the people. This is the most amazing time to be alive. The best is truly yet to come. And when Trump says the golden age, that is beyond what most of us can even comprehend. To get to these places, though, we have to wake up. We have to zoom out and connect the dots and realize this whole time we've been lied to, living under this corporation where we are the employees and the government has been our boss, when in reality, these roles should have been flipped since day one. I pray that you stay peace. I pray that you stay grounded. I pray that you share this and really start to look into things of how this corporation has been dissolved, how the power is going to be returning back to the people. And when you start to connect these dots, when you zoom out, you'll realize that nothing can truly stop what is coming. And the best is truly yet to come.
What? What? What the hell? I'm just a good old boy from Bakersfield. I've heard this before. There's a reason why on our birth certificates now our names are in all capital letters. It has to do with a corporate entity kind of thing, so on and so. I've been hearing all this stuff, and I've never been a conspiracy theory guy, but it's absolutely true now. What General Michael Flynn said, what is a conspiracy theory now turns into fact 6 months later. And I've heard this before many times, and I've always been like, okay, well, where's your proof in that? Hello, Scott McKay.
Hi, sir. How are you?
I'm borderline amazing, but that's distressing. What the hell is that? Is that right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's all right. I started covering this on my radio show back in 2020. And honestly, I didn't know this. I mean, I spent half my adult life in elected politics and, just the world I lived in for many years, and 30 years of research, geopolitics, etc. And it took me until 2020 to discover that truth, that we actually, the Constitution was set aside. They created the U.S. corporation, and the corporation became a business entity, and the corporation was the entity that would provide governing services to this land. And it really was the Rothschild central bankers that convinced again, they make these guys to be heroes. Ulysses S. Grant sold us out to the British crown. And so convinced us that you're broke, you have no money. If you form a corporation, then you can sell bonds, raise money to run government, whatever. And so they did. And over 40 years, the Rothschild European bankers, London bankers, were buying up all the bonds because they knew in 30, 40 years, we couldn't make good on them. And they would probably see economically that we couldn't. And then come 2009 or 1909, 10, 11, couldn't make good on it. Well, okay, then here's what you're going to do for us. Hand over the treasury and what's in the treasury, and then give us a central bank. So they created the Federal Reserve Act, gave them a private central bank to basically put ink on paper, hand it to us worth nothing, and say, here, this is worth $1 billion, and you pay us interest on it. Who's going to pay the interest? Well, your future generations can pay the interest. They captured us right then. And from that point forward,
It was easy because we were just coming out of the Civil War. The whole country, the whole nation was in disarray financially. We were in serious trouble, both North and South. Everybody was, what a horrific, horrific time in our history. It was all for a noble cause, though, to end slavery, the only nation in the world that actually took such a stance against such a horrific practice that was so commonplace. Everybody seems to forget that. It's the United States that actually went to war with itself to put an end to slavery. But in that kind of disarray, what a great moment to swoop in and go, well, we'll save you. The whole thing with the bar, with the legal system, that's all British, isn't it? That's all England too. And so many in politics are attorneys. They, as Jesus warned us against Pharisees and lawyers, they have owned and operated this nation now for 150 years.
Yeah, the servitude has never stopped. Quite honestly, I remember I was in a meeting in Utah years ago, and I was in a room with in our office with a guy. His name was Kenny Endom, and he was a computer programmer. Went to BYU, ran a track team, did a lot of interesting stuff behind the scenes. I knew he moved money around for David Rockefeller, kind of a little bit on the outer edges of probably legality. I'm just guessing, but he's a very brilliant guy. And he actually called David Rockefeller on the phone when I was in his presence at that time. I didn't know what a bad guy David Rockefeller was, what a satanic, horrible human this guy was, and what he's done to the planet. But one of the things that we talked about, it was about this country. And I just remember him saying, man, he goes, he's from South Africa. He goes, man, he goes, you guys are still being ruled by the crown, you know? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He laid out on a marker board the two entities, UNESCO and Vesco. These are two entities that control all the shipping on the planet. Every ship on the water has to have one of those two flags, UNESCO or Vesco. They control all shipping. So I don't remember the significance of the conversation, but it was quite eye-opening and startling that this whole structure is set up this way. But then again, you look at the bar, right? People pass the bar, which we didn't know that all this time that the bar is the British accreditation registry, which means they supplanted our common law, the constitutional county grand juries that was in our original architecture where the people handle their own business, and instituted this admiralty or maritime law court system, which is the law of the sea. The law of the land and the law of the sea are different. So basically, they're pirates that stepped on our ship and have taken it over, and that's why everything is symbolic. You go through the gates, you know, this little I don't know what you call them. There's a name. There's a maritime name for this. Is my camera blurry on your end or just mine?
No, yeah, you're blurry. Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can get that.
There you go. Full focus. There you go.
Or. I'll mess with that here in a second, but
that's okay.
The reality is the language of all of this. These people crafted a language that allows them to get away with what they get away with, and that's it. And that's again, and when you're standing on their ship, which is their courtroom at dock. That's why you look at all the language in a court, like this is everything has a docket number to it. Well, a docket, that's like a docket at sea. I mean, you take all the language.
A docket is just basically a work order, isn't it?
Yeah,
let's work on that. Let's work on that focus, though. Hold your hand up like you were. Let it drop over you, and then slowly bring your hand back.
Yeah, for whatever reason that typically works. I'm gonna switch out cameras for 1 second, and we'll bring it right back in. See what happens. Okay. This should do it. Activating it again.
There you go.
So they created this admiralty system. It takes away our rights. They supplanted the original Constitution with their new Constitution, written almost identical. But they eliminated the 13th Amendment, moved the 14th down to the 13th, and then they gave us ongoing amendments moving forward, like the 17th Amendment, which is where we lost the country, completely lost the nation, lost the control. The people lost it because Now, instead of having United States senators who are nominated and voted in by the state legislature, it became a popular vote in a state, which means what? You could have a conservative legislature, both houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate in a state, predominantly Republican or dominantly Republican, but you could end up with one or two Democrat senators from the state going to DC. How does that make any sense? If the philosophy of the state leads to a legislature that's predominantly conservative or predominantly liberal, how can you end up with a liberal state with two Republican senators or a conservative state with two liberal senators? It makes no sense. Now, obviously, you don't see a very conservative state with two liberal senators, or a very liberal state with two conservative senators. You don't see that. Why? Because they steal elections. The left, the liberal side of politics and left are absolute criminals. It's been proven. There's no debate on this. All the evidence is now shown. It's all come out in the open in 2020 and has been exposed for the last 5 years. But my point is, by taking away the legislature's constitutional power to send the senators that they vote on to DC and give an accurate reflection and representation in DC of that state, they made it a popular vote, which means they can change the influence of a state on its own people by sending two opposing party members to Washington, D.C. to knife us in the back, which they've always done. So I'm not a fan of the political world. I come from that world. I walked away from it because I realized these people are corrupt, half are criminals. And I don't say that. I'm not mixing words here either. People shut down that language a lot. I noticed more so now than 4 or 5 years ago. Everybody's ready to hear it, but I don't back off an inch. You better start to learn what's going on here, because you already had one attempted takedown of the country and its people with, hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million plus deaths in the country from the kill shot. Everybody just went along with what, quote unquote, these criminals, i.e. government, said you need to do. And look how many people are dead, or they're vaccine injured, or have massive problems that the media tries to cover up. It's imperative to learn these things, exactly what has happened to the nation. Now, good thing is we have a president who is quietly and systematically undoing it and returning it to the people. We don't see these massive moves being made, because if everything moves in a massive way, and you and I who want to see that, like, wow, my God, look at that, it happened. What happens over here? The other side goes nuts. They start burning the country down, Antifa, BLM, all that. But if Trump and the military are carrying out this operation to bring down this global corporate power structure step by step, slowly, it just seems like a slow evolution where people just, oh, wow, things are changing. Okay. And they move on and start doing whatever they do in life. They don't overreact. So anyways, everything's been corporatized in this world. And I've said this many times. we now have corporations that are masquerading as government. We have corporations masquerading as law enforcement. We have corporations masquerading as courts. You don't believe me? Go find any court in the country, go to Dun & Bradstreet, see if you can find a registered number. Every last one of them, you will see a registered number, LLC or whatever, of every court in the nation that represents its own banking system. That's why you wonder why these cases drag out. Like, we can finish it today. We're going to adjourn for today. We'll meet tomorrow. Every time there's another move or action made with the signature to make these things happen, a trust is created, and then it's monetized. Every action, every single action. So much so, most people don't know. I'm just wildly throwing information out here. I know that. So much so that when they created the birth certificate system in 1933 to collateralize us and our lives and our production, that birth certificate system allowed them to create a trust in our name. They make us all in capital letters on a birth certificate because that means a dead vessel. All caps is a dead vessel. You're a dead vessel lost at sea. That's how they look at us. So they create what's called a Sustakavy trust. And now you're traded on the open markets as a commodity, a producing commodity ongoing into the future. And all of our Sustakavy trusts are worth billions, all of us. If we could have access and control them, we'd all be incredibly wealthy. That's what they do, is they use that commoditized productive capacity of us in a Sustakavy trust to pay for all this stuff. Like every electric bill you've ever paid has already been taken out of your Susquehanna trust, and you get paid again. Every mortgage payment you've ever paid, the mortgage is paid in full out of your Susquehanna trust already, yet they make you pay every month. How do I know that's legitimate? Okay, here's just one example. So when somebody does work for you and they want to be paid, you ask for what? What do you ask for? You want me to pay you? I need you to. No. If somebody comes to your house and they're going to do work for you, right?
Okay.
Once the work is done, they hand you something, so you pay them. What is that something called?
A bill?
An invoice or a bill.
An invoice?
Yeah. An invoice.
A work order?
You pay an invoice, or you pay a bill, right? When you get a mortgage document every month, your mortgage in the mail, mortgage, whatever you call that, what does it say on there? What does it say? Mortgage what? What do they say? Mortgage bill, mortgage invoice. What do they call it? That's not what they call it. What does it say? It says mortgage statement. Mortgage statement, right? Your electric bill, same thing. It's a statement. Makes sense? Because by law, you don't pay statements, you pay bills or invoices. That's why all the language has been structured for these guys to get away with stealing from us all of our lives. They're stealing out of the Susquehanna Trust. Why am I bringing up the Susquehanna Trust? Because
what is that?
The Susquehanna Trust is a trust set up in the name of every single American since 1933. There's one for all of us, right?
Okay.
So here's how the court works. Court's a banking system, nothing more. It's a banking system. Every action that requires a signature by that court through a whole case, they tap into your Susquehanna Trust to get payment for that, right? So I had a friend of mine who's not far from here, from where I live, right here in Texas, wealthy family. Her family settled one of the areas here in Weatherford, Texas, from many generations ago. And she has a friend who's a judge, and she had asked him once. She told me this personally, a close friend of the family. She said, "How do you get paid?" He said, "Well, I get paid by the taxpayer." No. I mean, where's the money come? How do you get paid? And he said it again. "I get paid from your tax dollars." She says, "No." She said, "Look, there's no way you can live like this on a salary that you have as a judge from the taxpayer. How do you make your money?" And he said to her directly, "Well, I get paid out of your Susquehanna Trust." I was like, no shit. He really said that and admitted it? Absolutely. He did admit it because she can call out. She's a close friend. So this whole thing has been set up to commoditize us. And we have been in the slave trade ever since. We are the slaves. People think the slaves were freed in this country after the Civil War. Not by a long shot. Everyone, I don't care what you're doing, working, jobs, whatever. We are enslaved, all of us on this planet, because we are working in their machine of production to get what we need for food and staying alive or sustenance. And they're making a fortune. If you try to be hugely successful privately, they come in and force a buyout. They take over. Anyways, I'm pontificating now, but the reality is we have been captured. The people are waking up to this. And of course, the military intelligence operation, the Trump team, et cetera, have been showing us this for the last 10 years, and they've been slowly undoing it. They're doing it at a pace that's safe for the economy, safe for the people, safe for the world. But it is underway. They're deconstructing the corporatization of everything. The thing that I help people understand, CharLee, is this, and I said this many, 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 many times, folks. I don't care who you elect. They're never going to serve you. Period. I don't care if it's at federal level, state level, even the local level, which is where the biggest problem is. The corruption and the scumbags in local politics, school boards, county commissions, all that kind of nonsense. It attracts crooks. Sorry, there may be some that aren't, but it attracts crooks. And here's the thing. I don't care if your mother is your congressman. She's never going to serve you. How do I know? It's pretty simple. Because when you operate inside of a corporation, you have a fiduciary responsibility to who? The corporation. Plain and simple. It's law. That is where your fiduciary responsibility lies. That's why you have to do and serve and make the best decisions in the interest of the corporation. That is a law. I don't care if it's a business corporation, a government corporation, doesn't matter what it is, or business, a corporation as a business or corporation as a government or anything else. You have to serve the corporation by statutory law. So they're not going to go against what hurts the corporation because it's unlawful. It's a crime. That's the problem. That's how they took away our independence. That's how they took away the constitutional county grand jury process in this country, that each had a duty, a constitutional duty to form a certified standing militia, all of them, every county, because national armies are against the Constitution, foreign, excursions, military, unconstitutional, all this stuff. It's always been unconstitutional. It's these rogue criminals that got control of the country and then start exporting war, the war powers out of DC. All over the world. They don't like what you do. Send in our soldiers to kill or be killed, to force this world to do what they want it to do. That's not free. That's
got
not
a long
free.
history of that. I've many times questioned, why are we there? Why is this even our affair? Why are we getting involved in this? And now it's quite clear. Well, because that's their job. That's their job to keep it going.
Mm-hmm. It's a look. We had learned through this period of time of studying this intelligence that the most powerful economic force in the world that man has ever seen is the U.S. taxpayer. Now, that is just an idle remark that we could look at when they put that information out. Like, wow, we're pretty badass as producers. No, you have no idea. You're now getting some inclination of how big of a statement that is with the advent of Doge, with the advent of Musk's team uncovering the entire national debt, nearly 40 trillion. They've got all the evidence. That's not a debt, ours. That's everything that these corrupt criminal politicians in DC and their minions have stolen, literally stolen. And we're finding it out now. This is I've been calling DC since I started a radio show in 2020. From day one, Washington, D.C. is an organized crime syndicate, right? And back then that was sensational. People were like, my God, listen to what this guy's saying. Trying to get yourself killed? No, I'm telling you the truth. Now people can clearly see it's an organized crime syndicate. Politics in the United States is a crime syndicate. You got local politicians that are stealing from the fire department, stealing from the county commission, PennDOT, Pennsylvania, Damon Wagner and his minions at PennDOT, sending 100 tons of these road millings to somebody else's property as a favor to somebody in some bribe or some exchange, right? And I've been hammering away on my show trying to expose this. People start putting pressure on PennDOT in Harrisburg. I mean, they responded. PennDOT did, because I keep raining it down on them. But we don't stop this corruption, we're never getting the country back. But all of this criminal activity is considered protected by their constitution, their corporate constitution, and their statutory laws. And we're never going to get out from underneath this. We're starting to, because a lot of us out here, like you, myself, and others, are showing this to the whole world. And of course, the people are coming out, standing up, overthrowing school boards, getting rid of the transgender kids' lunacy, all this incredible insanity. The people are finally seeing it. And they're waking up to it, and they're taking action. And of course, you will see what happens when Trump comes back from the Middle East. But he said the world's going to be a different place when he comes back from the Middle East. A lot of these things are changing. They're stripping the power of the Vatican, which they have. Trump and company, military, have basically stripped their power. They cornered all of them, the royal families. Why do you think Buckingham Palace is empty now? It's been empty for 6 years because they're all being cornered with all of the information of all the horrible shit they've done to humanity. They've got all of it on analog videotape. Show them, you're done. Here's what you're doing next. You're going to work for us. You're going to move out. If you don't, we just show this to the whole world. There'll be no safe place on the planet. The people see these things of what you've been doing to kids and everything else. You can't hide. You think these gates at Buckingham Palace will stop people? You kidding me? 100,000 will rush these gates and be in this place and catch you if they can, or burn it down. So you better, you want to survive this, you're going to play ball. We are deconstructing your whole world. and we're going to return the power in America to the people and then export it worldwide one at a time and show people how the planet gets its independence back. Anyways, you got to rein me in somewhere, Charlie. You got to interrupt, say, slow down, stop, let's go here.
No, this is awesome. I've learned so much. How do we help? I mean, thank God for Trump. Thank God for Donald Trump and what that gentleman said, that he was president number 46 as well. Um, and I've heard that also, that it was a stolen election, and we know that. That's so dang obvious. But the things we saw during COVID, that was such a great mask for them as in those who want to see this new world order ushered in, and that's basically what this is, isn't it? This is all about the whole one world government. This is very satanic, very satanic. We know it's going to happen according to God's word, but when? Do we fight back? Do we sit back and just let evil reign? No, the word tells me very clearly, I never do that. Ephesians 5:11, be no part of the works of darkness, but instead even expose them. That's what this is all about. Now, what do people do from here, though, other than actually getting involved in a system of government that we were blessed with in our constitutional republic? Divine intervention there with this nation, unlike any in the history of the world. Do we actually have a say in who's going to be calling the shots? But we have rolled right over. We've given up. So many of us on the right are like, well, my vote doesn't even count, especially here in California. So they've just quit. They've quit, and they're leaving the rest of us to sit here and go, wait, stop. We're all going down. We're trying to help. Stop fighting. And actually, let's first of all, get to some safe territory and then actually fight back against this evil, which is what it is. What do we do as we the people, other than just vote? Start by just getting registered to vote and actually being involved in what's happening, and don't let them just roll right over on us. COVID, we saw this. Who made the decision that these huge corporations were going to be safe and effective and they can stay open, but all you mom and pop businesses, you family run businesses, no, you're not allowed to stay open. Especially here in California, it was horrific. And I kept asking that, who's making that call? Who's saying it's okay for Walmart to stay open, the super spreader all across the nation? But yet, my neighbor down here who's been running a local hardware store for, a couple of decades, no, we're going to ruin you. You have to shut down. We don't care what the consequences are. Who made that call? And wasn't Trump part of that? In 2020, wasn't during the whole COVID thing? How involved was he in all that? That's been my question for a while now.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I don't know the true answer to all of it. There's a lot of things that I think are so mysterious that you can come up with a hypothesis, but it's a little too far out there for people to say, I get that. It's typically like, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. Again, I understand that, Charlie. I understand why people resist. They call them conspiracy theories or things that are far out. But I can tell you this, the reason I walked away from it all when I learned what I learned is that whatever you think it is or how bad it is, I assure you it is far worse than you can possibly imagine. The entire capture operation of this country, the world, all of it. But with Trump, they said people ill served him with, the higher powers with knowledge, information, etc. I won't say who it was, but had met with Trump 2 years ago, roughly, maybe a little bit more than that. I was having this conversation on the phone with him. He was sitting at knee to knee to Trump, laying this whole thing out. And Trump was like stunned, like the numbers, the kill shot, the bioweapon, all of this stuff. And he's like, what the F do I do now? So I was surprised by that. Like, how could you not know? But again, you're in a bubble, and the only people that get in are people that they allow to get into your bubble. He had controllers that were keeping the information away from him. The amount of destruction from this, but I haven't heard him lately talking about warp speed or the shot, getting a shot, all that kind of stuff. Maybe he's coming to grips with it. Hell, I don't know if they don't have a double. The other side has a double and puts him in front of a camera and then releases in mainstream media. It's not even real Donald Trump saying these things, right? You say, well, if that's true, Scott, they put some other actor or the mask technology they've revealed, all that stuff. They can put an identical mask on somebody and they can do the voice altering and the person can speak and it sounds like Trump, who's saying these things that are contrary to what we know and we figure he knows. Well, again, how do you know that's not a person with a mask being run by the other side who's putting this information out? They got the mainstream media piping out there like, oh my God, look what Trump said. He's one of them. How do you know that's not what they're doing? You say, that's insane. Yeah. Imagine being in my case. Some people have just woken up in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I've been at this since 1990. We're looking at everything globally, right? It's been my armchair passion. I now see this stuff and I'm blown away. Like, my God, do I actually want to say that? I'll sound like a lunatic. But here's the reality. That's exactly what they do. That's what Biden was. When Biden came out and announced for his run for the presidency in 2019, I'm looking at the TV. I'm like, what? Who the hell is that? That ain't Biden. Are you kidding me? Like, what's going on? Now, people think that that's Biden. Like, look, I've been watching Biden for 30 years. This is insane. That isn't Biden. No crooked smile, everything about Biden, right? The shape of his skull, his head, everything. Yet, when I saw that, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And within a week, it became worse. Why? Not one person in Congress said a word. People that served with him for decades, not one of them said, who the hell is that? What's going on here? That ain't Biden. He's been my friend for, whatever, decades. And they all went along with it. And that's when I realized they have a gun to their head. Somebody's got a gun to their head saying, here's what you're going to do now. We've got you too. We got all you people. We got everything you've ever done. You've all committed high treason. Here it is. It's military. Here it is. Here's what's going to happen. If these are horrific crimes like satanic ritual abuse of kids, which many are involved in, you are going to be executed in a military tribunal, period. That you're an enemy combatant. Unless you want to work for us. If you're a good theater actor and you can play it out, we'll let you spend life in prison. And we won't tell the world what a horrible scumbag you were. Protect your legacy. If you don't do it, here's what's going to happen. And if you say you're going to, you sign a contract agreement to carry it out and you fudge on it, you're automatically going to Gitmo for an execution for treason. So all of a sudden, now they're all playing ball. They're going along with Joe. That wasn't Joe Biden. Joe Biden, again, it was confirmed to me by a very close friend who's close to a Trump advisor, had dinner here in Dallas 5 months ago, confirmed it. Biden was executed at Gitmo in 2019 for high treason, just like Hillary was executed December 31st, 2017 at Gitmo with Trump in attendance. She confirmed that too. This is one of Trump's top advisors, confirmed that it's all true. Said that it didn't go very well. Her execution didn't go well. They did it by hanging. And I'm like, didn't go well. What happened? I guess it was she refused to die. I'm like, so the bitch just wouldn't die and prolong the agony. I'm like, that's the greatest story I've ever heard. I would have pulled that on pay-per-view. You kidding me? That's awesome. Didn't go well. I couldn't have gone any better.
We can erase the national debt just by charging pay-per-view for these things.
No kidding. Absolutely. For every country in the world, we'd erase their national debt. Who wouldn't want to see that bitch executed? So, like in a horrific fashion. So apparently Trump said it was the worst thing he's ever seen in his life. He never wants to see it again. So anyways, getting back to Trump. Now, if they can do that, and create this person, which she also said there are 5 different actors playing Biden through the course of that term, 5 different actors. And you can clearly see the difference in some of these. One day Biden looks like this, another one, they put the pictures side by side. You can see these subtle differences.
Oh, it's freaky.
And here's the thing. I say this for a reason, just to show you how they have programmed all of us through the television, whatever else. People still can't see it. You can show them irrefutable visual evidence that this is not the guy, and many people still will just disbelieve. Like, I am not going to believe my lying eyes. I'm going to take what they say. It's astonishing to me, but that is just neural network programming. Your brain is bombarded with information or visual information day in and day out in your life, your brain circuitry is malleable. It wires itself in a certain way, like the neural networks can disconnect. If you have a new belief
We'll
system,
automatically fill in the blanks. Yeah.
what's that?
Our minds will automatically fill in the blanks.
Well, to think differently is not easy to do because your neural networks are they're set, right? They're basically
It's been true for most of our lives that believe your own eyes. You believe your own eyes, but now you can't even do that. You cannot believe.
Well, the reason I'm explaining why the neural networks are welded together. The belief system is what it is. I don't care what my eyes show me. I've been systematically, repeatedly programmed to believe this one thing. And so that neural network is set up just to come out with that, psychological conclusion. The only way people can really see it, they have to change the way they think, because changing your thinking that's different than the neural network fusion that's been created by what you've been fed your whole life into your mind. These at the synapses, they actually break, they separate, and now they can find other, nerves, neural networks to reconfigure and reconnect in a different fashion that allows for the assimilation of this information, belief system, understanding, whatever you want to call it. It's neurochemistry. So it's how do you deprogram somebody who's been programmed, right?
Great.
Put them in prison in Vietnam in a cage for 15 years, and you want them to come home and see your loved one who's exactly the same. They're completely different. Like they're out there. They're disconnected from you. Why? Because that life experience of a different behavior or a different worldview, so to speak, every day, redundancy. I'm going to get to eat some rice in a little bowl. I got to urinate in my own, bamboo cage here. And, it's just how the mind works. That's why people can't see it, because if your belief system is, no, that can't be true, and nobody could be so evil that they would substitute another person for a president, or nobody could be so evil in the United States to steal an election, that just couldn't happen here. Anything can happen anywhere. And once you understand that, you can clearly see what they have done to the planet, what it's been all about for these people forever. It's just what it is. And, the Great Awakening is exactly that. People are finally starting to wake up that something just no longer passes the smell test. And it's going to continue to roll out over the coming years. But I do believe that systemically and systematically, the Trump team is just doing everything in terms of bringing this thing down without these cataclysmic events that change the world. It's more like a transition. Tariffs on everybody else in the world that are screwing the U.S. Look what happened for China yesterday. These ridiculous tariffs Trump's hammered them with. Like, we're getting fairness one way or another. You want to do this? Great. Your economy is going to be destroyed. Now they eliminated tariffs and they're like parity down at 10%. What did that just do? That parity of 10% now becomes a currency revaluation in its own sense, which is what we need, a currency revaluation to a fair currency valuation for all countries. Now you're saying, how do you get to currency revaluation? To revalue so it's fair, it's not inflated and all BS. Do you just make it happen and announce it? No, you make it look like it was something else. It just naturally happened. That way people are, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? They're freaking out. They don't see it that way. It just becomes a transition. So people can stomach that. They can swallow without freaking out. So a lot of crazy things, interesting things going on in the world nowadays, especially CharLee, since the world is waking up. And that's why I created the radio show. I called it The Tipping Point. If you listen to the intro, the very end of it, after reading a section of the Constitution or Declaration, is that, it says the world is waking up. And this is the tipping point. This is the tipping point in the whole world. They're waking up.
You see a light at the end of the tunnel? You think this is going to be successful?
Absolutely. I have zero doubt in my mind this transition is coming. They've lost all power, at least the power. The greatest power that they've had is their veil of secrecy. It's been shattered. And once people see the real information, the truth, you can't put that genie back in a bottle. It's just a matter of time. You're not going to stop it. Once that information's out, it could come on slowly. More and more people wake up, other people come out, become podcasters, and it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And you think they're not afraid of us? If you think they're not afraid of us, explain to me why they captured 90+% of the entire global media machine by purchasing, bribery, or theft. Why do you think they lied to us through that media every single day? Why do you think they crushed us in the States here with taxation to keep both mom and dad working every day, so busy they can't even raise their kids or stop and think my country's being stolen? Why do you think they, outside of God's 10 commandments, how do you think DC is going to work? They give us 10 million laws and limited freedom of choice. The 10 commandments, God gave us limited laws, 10 of them, and complete free will. We wonder why the other model doesn't work, right? So based on all of that, the simple fact is it's over for them. It's just time as that death spiral continues downward. My friend, I love being here with you.
Oh yeah, I know. Where do we find you? Where do we find you? How do we get a hold of you?
You can find me at patriotstreetfighter.com and all the social media links up there. Rumble is the primary broadcast channel for us. Find the Rumble link up there, the icon, and it's got all the social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. But patriotstreetfighter.com is where you can find us.
He has great guests on his shows, amazing guests, and I'm like, oh yeah. What? I love you, brother. I love you. Thank you so much for your time.
I wish I didn't have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Cut you off early. My apologies. There you go, patriotstreetfighter.com. And if you haven't watched him before or listened to anything that he does, I hope you will, from this point forward, actually start following him and listening to him and watching him and supporting me too. You can do that at CharLeeSimons.com, CharLeeSimons.com. And I want to have him on again sooner than later. It's been too long. I got to have him on again because there's so much, man, so much I still don't know, and I want to. I want to learn. I don't want to sit back and go, oh well, Trump's in office. We'll just see what happens. He'll take care of it. Nope, can't do that. Can't do that. This is a time that we've got to step up more than ever. More than ever. Obvious to everyone who's actually paying attention that we're needed on the front lines, and start with just voting, being involved in our system of government that we were blessed with to actually be able to make a difference and decide who's going to be calling the shots. Who do you trust? Well, why don't you start getting involved? And actually, I'm going to have a couple of guests on later on today who are running for governor of California. That's what you do. You actually pay attention to them and learn about them. We have a search engine. I recommend you don't use Google or Bing because both of them are very, very monitored, censored, and controlled. There's all kinds of search engines out there you can utilize instead. Brave is a good one, brave.com, swisscows.com. I know, funny name. There's many other search engines out there. Don't just go to Google automatically because you're not going to get the whole truth there. You're just not. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God